Hi guys, just see if I've logged into the chat. Hi, just say hi on it. So not many people watching here because I'm on Elvis Presley fan on keto. I found this old vintage clip. I've never watched it. I thought I'm going to watch it with you guys. So what we're going to do, it's set in Tupelo as far as I can see. It looks to me very vintage, so it could be the 70s or early 80s maybe. I think it's about a group of fans that are heading out to Tupelo. Let's just see what they find. I've literally never watched this. We're going to watch it together. It's going to be on a live stream. Okay, guys, let's just enjoy it. I want to chill out here with a cup of tea. Okay.
August heat ushers in the fans,
here goes, guys,
enjoying their visit to Elvis's instantly recognisable birthplace. They are well chaperoned by the vigilant Tupelo police, who are here both to show the city's respect and appreciation for the fans, and also to make very sure that nothing amiss should occur to their visitors. The day down here is always enjoyed by all who come, and every year without fail, a large number of these devoted people brave the 90 degrees plus temperatures of the...
So obviously a British guy. From the point of view of the British guy, he's talking about the Elvis fans. Of course, Elvis has the best fans in the world. So let's go there.
Mississippi heartland. Generally not as commercial as Memphis, Tupelo does its very best to ensure the safety and comfort of its visitors. The chapel is the coolest place in town. Can you see Elvis? Outside, the free supplies of Coke and Dr. Pepper do not go unappreciated by the dehydrated visitors, most of whom never experience temperatures and humidity like this at home. But they are here without...
Yeah, of course, I think obviously he's referring to the UK, but part of what I like about I've watched the first few minutes is that you really get a summer feel of the fans, Elvis fans from Britain going over to discover Elvis's history.
Without fail. Anniversary years and special events may swell the numbers, but most will come down here regardless of the occasion. Elvis people, amongst whose number I am proud to include myself, are without doubt the most loyal and devoted of any known fans. We don't come because we have to, we come because we want to. Perhaps half the visitors are from overseas, but the American fans also drive vast distances to be here.
Yeah.
To take just two examples, I have friends who drive from New York and Canada every year.
So I'm just quickly letting everyone know that we are doing a live stream.
Take a look at the map of the States and see just how far that is. America is vast. Everyone likes Tupelo. It's relaxed and friendly. Most fans...
So is Tupelo still like that now? I keep hearing rumours that it's changed quite a lot since obviously way back then. Look at that, Elvis fans parking. Violators will be all shook up.
like to add to their collections with at least one Elvis souvenir, including my assistant Julie, who has incidentally written 10 pages of places for us to try and find and then film. But here even the traffic signs are fun. This Elvis site is pleasant and it's relatively easy to film. We've included the interior of the house in many other of my films, but there are other Elvis sites here that many fans have never seen or are not sure how to find. We want to concentrate on those, so that you too can more easily locate these places. The British Club is off on their tour of the city, but we are staying behind to obtain footage of the places they will not be seeing.
Look at those old... See, from a British guy's point of view, seeing those motorbikes with the police on, it reminds me of Chips, because I loved, in the 80s, I loved Chips. Is it California Highway Patrol? I loved it, loved it.
If you drive from the house back to the main road, which is in fact Main Street, and then turn left, remembering to drive on the right-hand side of the road, of course, after going up a rise and proceeding a few hundred yards, you will find Feemster Lake Road on your left. which runs parallel to the road to the birthplace. Here you will find Presleys Cemetery, where most of the Presleys were buried. This is somewhere not usually on tour bus itineraries, but I feel it is of great interest to fans. With a hired car, in fact, it's only 5 minutes from the birthplace. Well, here we are. This is the legendary Presleys Cemetery. It's about 2 miles from the birthplace. As you can probably see, it's quite big. It's bigger than I've been led to expect. But whether we're going to find the grave of Jesse Garron, I really don't know. I don't think so.
Let's get it bigger.
So we're going to have a wander through.
So this is all quite new for me. I'm learning myself here. Presleys Cemetery. Okay, let's see how we go.
We will be able to find you some Presley graves. Jesse Garron is meant to be buried here somewhere, presumably in the same...
And I've read this a few times, that there is an unmarked grave of Jesse, Elvis's twin.
...area as all the other Presleys. However, the grave has always been unmarked. There is also some controversy as to whether he is actually here. I have even been told that he was buried with a short service quite close to the birthplace, in the wooded area near there. It seems
It's funny how all the different rumours are about where Jesse is actually buried. Obviously, there's like a plaque at the meditation garden in Graceland, isn't there?
Shoebox may have been used for the coffin, wherever he was finally laid to rest. The weather on that January day was cold and wet, and neither Gladys or Vernon had Presleys. However, the grave has always been unmarked.
Jesse.
There is also some controversy as to whether he is actually here. I have even been told that he was buried with a short service quite close to the birthplace, in the wooded area near there. It seems a shoebox may have been used for the coffin, wherever he was finally laid to rest. The weather on that January day was cold and wet, and neither Gladys or Vernon, who had a bad cold, actually attended. We must remember that most people who lived in the old Tupelo Road, as the birthplace area was then called, were not well off, as the Depression still continued in this part of the country. Nowadays, people who still survive do not like being reminded of those uncomfortable days, and why should they? So it's difficult to research the absolute truth. Obviously, money for a headstone was quite out of the question, and later on, after Elvis was famous, it was felt that marking the spot might not be wise. Billy Smith claims that Jesse is in fact buried in another cemetery out towards...
This is the first time I've heard this. So Billy Smith has said where he thinks Jesse is buried. That's interesting.
Tupelo. Back near the centre of town, it is still easy to find evidence of the Depression days in Tupelo. Much of it still seems to be on the wrong side of the tracks. If Elvis were here now, and regrettably he is definitely not, he would have great difficulty recognising the area he was born in. But obviously not everywhere has changed since 1935. Some, like the buildings you're about to see, are still just there, but in a very bad state and situated in a less than ideal area. The main object of my trip each year is to try and put onto video these fast disappearing sites. Each year it seems that more and more pieces of the puzzle have gone, and they become...
So guys, you just joined me. We've got Emily, Lorna and Debbie in. So I'm going to do this. I found this very old vintage interview about sort of documentary about British fans going over to Tupelo to see the sights concerning Elvis. Obviously, the British love Elvis. I've never watched this. I thought we could watch it together. It's about half an hour long. We're going to cut into it and review it. I thought you'd find it interesting. And then straight after that, I'm going to come off and I'm going to do one on carnivore and keto diet on this channel. So I'm going to do two live streams here, and then eventually I'm going to go over to defending Elvis. Do a bit of defending, guys. So let's keep going.
Harder and often more dangerous to find and film. We managed to film places that you may not have seen before, including several Elvis sites that are very much safer when experienced on this video. This was the Tupelo garment factory, where Gladys worked as a sewing
top up
machine
my tea,
operator
guys,
from
quickly.
December 1932 until the birth of Elvis. The wages were poor, $2 a day, the hours were long, and the labour was hard. It's Main Street down in that direction. This is South Green Street. And down here is Bluebell Alley. Her work was on the second and third stories. The factory is situated 2 blocks south of Main Street along Green Street, in an area then known as Milltown. You are facing towards this when you have the entrance of Tupelo Hardware behind you. The building is situated between Bluebell Alley and the railway tracks. Talking of trains, the sirens you can hear are quite genuine. They've not been added later. Not far away is Maple Street, where Gladys and Elvis lived with Frank and Leona Richards while Vernon was serving a sentence in Parchman Penitentiary. That's Tupelo Garment Factory there, and here, Maple Street. This house is still lived in. If you look hard, you can see the current owner lying out on the porch. The correct address is 510½ Maple Street, and this one is in a fairly safe area. My job is a cameraman stroke editor for a well-known broadcasting corporation, working mainly on the news, so I'm fairly used to situations where you have to be careful.
Hi, Joanne.
Filming this video required as much caution as anywhere else, and regarding the sites where I express concerns over safety, I trust you will do the same. Just off Main Street is Commerce Street and an abandoned shopping mall. Opinions vary as to the exact site, but another Presley home was definitely located here. Those are the gates to the fairground, and panning back to Commerce Street shows their relationship to the site of the house. Most of their lives, the Presleys always seem to have worked and lived in a very compact area. Now, there we have Leek and Goodlet. That is the lumber yard where Vernon used to work. As you can probably see, this firm is not now in business. Here's another shot of Leek and Goodlet where Vernon worked, the lumber yard. This is taken from Commerce Street, right in front of where they used to live. Vernon earned $18 a week here when released from Parchman in 1939. Now, if I pull back,
I find all this fascinating because it's like, guys, what year do you think this is? I would say it's mid-70s. I haven't worked out yet if it's before Elvis passed or after. I don't know. Could be the 80s. What? Because I've never watched this. We're watching this for the first time together. Okay, guys?
Long's Cleaners, where Vernon also used to work. And over to the right, that's Commerce Street again. So you can get your bearings. That's the entrance to the fairground. That building there is Long's Cleaners. That's where Vernon used to work. And over here, that's Tupelo Hardware over there, see? This is the old entrance to the fairgrounds. And up there, that is Mulberry Alley, where the Presleys used to live. We pan round the other...
So guys, when I watch this, I just imagine Elvis walking around these back roads, these back areas, when he was a kid. This is Elvis's life. Mississippi, Tupelo, yeah?
Way. That abandoned shopping mall over there, that's Commerce Street on the right. That's also...
I wonder what these areas are like now, you know, in 2025.
The house they lived in. Mulberry Alley also goes down there. And if I go through here, that's the fairground, which of course is all shut up now.
So which fair, is this the main fairground that Elvis would go to in Tupelo? You know, you guys give me some information if you know. Obviously, we know that Elvis entered a talent competition at a fairground. You know, you guys tell me.
Rather a shame. The stands are in fact still here, but we've covered the fairgrounds lots of times before. And although I did in fact refilm them this time, there's no room in the final edit to include them. This is Mulberry Alley. Now I've been told Elvis's house was on the left here, somewhere down towards where that car is on the right of the picture. But of course it's a parking lot now, so you can get your bearings. Mulberry Alley again.
So guys, any of you in Memphis? Any of you been here? I mean, sorry, not Memphis, Tupelo. Any of you been to these areas in Tupelo in Mississippi?
Salubrious area, this. Entrance to the fairground on your right. Mulberry Alley again down there. We've been through those gates.
You see that? I recognise that entrance. Let me see if I can get it up. Actually, no, I won't, because it'll make me come off talking to you. But that does look like the fair that Elvis did the talent contest. I'm sure it is.
It's quite a lot of time. I don't think we're going to get through them today. Running parallel with Main Street is Mulberry Alley.
Mulberry
And
Alley.
Elvis's house was on the right, where one of those cars.
Right, now this is news. So Elvis's house was on the right. Are we talking about the old Tupelo house? Because I know that Elvis did move around a bit. I know many people think Elvis just was in the house on Old Tupelo Road until they eventually moved to Memphis. But they moved a few times, didn't they, guys? They moved, I think, 3 or 4 times. I've even read somewhere that they even went to Memphis for a short while, but then returned to Tupelo because they missed it.
Cars are now. Tupelo Hardware.
Right, okay, so there's the Tupelo hardware store. We all know that, don't we, guys?
Main Street. And the fairground is in the background.
Yeah.
Mulberry Alley can be a bit dubious, so don't come here alone. Definitely a lot more dubious is the area around Elvis's house at 1010 North Green Street.
So we've got 1010 North Green Street. Should we read this sign? Labour are heavy laden and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. Christian Outreach Centre, 1015 North Street, Tupelo, Mississippi.
I think this is definitely a camera out of the car window job, especially on Saturday evening, which this is. The house is very much still there in pink and black. This is on the edge of what was Shake Rag, which is now gone.
So this, am I right? This is a completely different house, yeah, guys?
It consisted mainly of wooden shacks, and a tornado many years ago demolished most of it. Incidentally, Shake Rag was not near the birthplace, but was actually very much near a town to the north of Main.
So I read all about Shake Rag. Elvis would hang out at Shake Rag. Shake Rag was a nickname to do with how the locals would dry their clothes. So the area got a reputation. I think it was predominantly coloured people. And Elvis obviously just loved all the people that he grew up with in Tupelo.
Main Street. The new Tupelo Coliseum is now situated where it started, with North Green Street being the eastern boundary. Back in central Tupelo, this is Milam Junior High, Elvis's second school from 1946 to 1948. There's the Tupelo Water Tower over there. As we zoom back, pan right a little, that's the side entrance to Lawhorn School. Sounding like a name from Loving You, Lawhorn School still has many Elvis links. Travelling west out of Tupelo on Main Street about
See, I don't know Lawhorn School. I don't know it. Do you guys know it?
a mile and a half, you turn right onto Lake Street, which means you are then heading south. Well, this is something you don't see every time. This is actually the back of Lawhorn School. Now this is a new
What's this? Lawhorn Elementary. Welcome back. So what is the story? I don't know the story here with Lawhorn School.
sign. This wasn't here when Elvis was here, of course.
So did you hear that? This sign wasn't here when Elvis was here. So did Elvis go to this school? He must have.
Now this building to the left of the main entrance, that's the building where the auditorium is, where Elvis appeared.
Right, okay. I have to keep saying it. So Elvis appeared here in the auditorium. Right, let's keep going. Let's learn. I've never watched this, guys. My first time.
And down here on the end, that's where Elvis had his 5th grade classroom, on the other side.
Right, got it. So he did go to school there, Lawhorn School, and that was his 5th grade classroom. Okay, let's keep going.
Right in the corner of this room right up here. Been remodeled since then, but You go through those doors in that far corner on the right. That was where his 5th grade class was.
The helpful caretaker has opened up the school for me on his day off, and it's quite a thrill to be in the room where Elvis had his first lessons. In 1990...
Wow, they're actually in the room where Elvis had his first lessons. I'll just go back a bit because he's saying the year.
You go through those doors in that far corner on the right. That was where his 5th grade class was.
Wow.
The helpful caretaker has opened up the school for me on his day off, and it's quite a thrill to
I want to know what year this was filmed, guys. I really want to know.
be in the room where Elvis had his first lessons. In 1992, when the school was remodelled, some of the walls bordering the corridor were removed.
Right, so he mentions 1992 it was remodelled, so we now know it's after 1992. I thought it was like 70s or 80s, so it's 1992, after 1992.
But you can still see what it was like.
Elvis's class was down the end of this room. We're looking back towards the central corridor here. And this is the classroom. They've knocked the walls down, but this is where Elvis was.
Wow. You can see where Elvis was. It's crazy.
I'll follow you down.
First show was on
Thanks. That's
My guess is it's the 90s, my guess, yeah?
those seats, I suppose, were in there when he had his first show.
It's a big school, isn't it?
It's about 550 students.
This is the auditorium where Elvis sang from the stage, encouraged by his teacher Mrs. Oleta Grimes, the daughter of Orville Bean. Orville Bean was the landlord who lent Vernon the money to construct the birthplace, later repossessing it.
Do you know what? I've done some videos. I'm going to go back a bit. I've done some videos of Orville Bean. As far as I know, this situation with cheque fraud with Vernon and his friend, was it some piglets and Vernon altered the cheque? I think, tell me if I'm wrong, because I do make my mistakes, guys. I don't get everything right. I had you know what? I had on YouTube today someone being really nasty because I'd got some dates wrong on a record. God, I never understand why these people can be so nasty with their comments. Obviously, I delete nasty comments, but this person was like determined to upset me and just kept repeatedly adding more comments. So I'll never understand why people are like that. I never ever get it. This real sort of nastiness that comes out in people sometimes, just because I get my facts wrong. I just don't understand it. So what I heard was Orville Bean loaned the money for the old Tupelo house mortgage. Yeah. So that I think we know Vernon built it with his brother, I think. And this piglet situation with the forged cheque or the altered cheque, which was a bit of a misunderstanding because Vernon felt and his friend felt that the piglets were worth a lot more. So they altered the cheque so they could get what they thought the piglets were worth. And I think I've read that this guy was part of the reason Vernon went to prison. But I've also read this guy that they're talking about now is the reason that Vernon got out of prison early. So I think, I don't know, you guys tell me. I think he was given I think he was given 3 years. I think. Tell me if I'm wrong, guys, Vernon Presley, yeah? And I think he got out after 18 months because this guy, and it was because of him, Vernon went to prison. This guy, Gladys had written a letter begging them to let Vernon come out of prison. And I think in the end, the guy who did the mortgage helped get Vernon out of prison, I think. Tell me if I'm wrong, guys.
I'll follow you down.
First show was on
Thanks.
stage.
That's just a little look.
Those seats, I suppose, were in there when he had his first show.
It's a big school, isn't it?
It's about 550 students.
This is the auditorium where Elvis sang from the stage, encouraged by his teacher Mrs. Oleta Grimes, the daughter of Orville Bean. Orville Bean was the landlord who lent Vernon the money to construct the birthplace, later repossessing it. I think most fans know the tale.
So this is the guy we're
Vernon
talking
and
about,
Gladys's
yeah?
brother Travis Smith altered a cheque that Bean had written them
All right, so he's telling you what I remember reading. Go on.
for $4. No one is quite sure whether they altered the amount to $14 or $40, but as Bean wanted to teach Vernon a lesson, he would not drop the charges, with the result that they went to the feared Parchman prison farm from June the 1st, 1938 to February the 6th, 1939.
And can you imagine, guys, going to prison just because you slightly owed a cheque for a few dollars, how that affected Elvis? Seriously, how that affected Elvis, how that affected Gladys. Suddenly they were alone. And I think, from what I've read, this then forced them to move, I think, next door into their in-laws' house. I don't think Gladys got on with her in-laws, so she wasn't there long, and then moved again.
This part of the school is very much as it was.
Now this is probably the piano they used. It looks pretty ancient.
That's Mrs. Grimes, and that's Becky with her.
That's Becky with Mrs. Grimes there. Oh yes, there's Becky. I recognise it. Yeah.
Mrs. Grimes is included in an Elvis display, along with Elvis's classmate Becky Martin, who still lives close to the school. A photo of a young Mrs. Grimes catches my eye.
That's Mrs. Grimes, is it?
That's Mrs. Grimes.
She looks a bit different there.
Mrs. Grimes is now dead, but Becky is a fount of information regarding Elvis's early days in East Tupelo. She retains a great affection and loyalty for her old classmate, and after knowing each other for many years, she trusts me enough to let me film her Elvis room.
Yeah, that's the 60s. Then this is the 50s. And on the last one, of course, it's got in here on the bottom where he died. He let me have one copy, and I let him have a copy of this.
Well, that's interesting, Jesse's testimony.
Yeah.
I just find all this fascinating, guys.
I mean, Jesse, he's in Priceville, is he? We've been up there today.
Yes, yes. But it's an unmarked grave.
That was a copy of Jesse Garron's death certificate, while this is a very
See, that's the first time I've heard of that Jesse actually had a death certificate, which makes sense. I suppose they had to do it, yeah?
very rare photograph of Gladys's funeral. Becky, of course, knew Gladys. Like most fans, she has Elvis memorabilia that decorates the room, which she likes to share. But Becky has personal photos and mementos of Elvis that most fans don't have.
This is the contest at the fair in 1945. And this is Shirley Jones Gillentine. She won first place. And this is Nubbin Payne that won second place. And this is an unknown person. We can't remember him, but this is Elvis. He didn't win anything. And then this.
So she says he didn't win anything. I always thought he came fifth. Is that right, guys? Oh, I suppose they only gave prizes for the first three. So I think he come fifth, didn't he, at the fair? Yeah, guys?
Is Elvis when he was about 15 years old. This was at the original old church where he attended church. With his father is in this picture, and all the press is Miss Annie Presley. And this is made over on, I guess it was made on Adams Street, where his neighbor, this is Elvis, his neighbor's Guy Harris and Junior Harris, Laverne Farrah, and I can't remember the other girl's name.
Carolyn, that's a great idea. I need a room to have an Elvis room. I don't have one. You know, I got 5 kids living at home with my wife, and I have no room to put my Elvis stuff. I'm surrounded by books. I'm stuck at the back of the kitchen. I've turned the laptop round so that you guys don't have to see the kitchen all the time. So this is my home.
Okay. This is later. Anyway, this is the mild school picture.
Yes.
This is Mississippi Slim's brother, James Osmond, and this is Elvis here.
Let me just pause that. Look at Elvis. I don't think I've ever seen that picture. Guys, have any of you ever seen that picture? That is so cool. I'm going to take a picture of that. Oh, he was a cute boy, wasn't he? You can see Elvis in that picture. This is fascinating.
Okay. Then this is his second girlfriend, Magdalene Morgan. I don't have a picture of his first girlfriend. Her name was Elvis Bedford Sanford.
Right, let me just go back a bit. I want to hear the name of that. If his first girlfriend. Let's have a, I don't know why I had it that it was Dixie Locke, but let's keep going.
It's a mild school picture.
Yes.
This is Mississippi Slim's brother, James Osmond, and this is Elvis here.
Mm.
Okay. Then this is his second girlfriend, Magdalene Morgan.
Oh yeah, no, I have read about Madeline.
Girlfriend, her name was Elvis.
Yeah, no, I know about Madeline. Isn't that cute, that picture? Is this the one where he altered his mother's marriage certificate to pretend that they were married?
Bedford Sanford. Then that's President Nixon and Elvis.
Yes.
Then this was made in Memphis right after he got popular. This was made in church where Elvis went to church at first, and then after he got popular he couldn't go to church because it would cause such a commotion.
Yeah,
And that's his
I can see
relative. That was made in Grayson. That's Corinne Tate.
Ah, yes.
Okay, let's see.
So did he say Corinne Tate? I don't know that name. Go on.
Lovely display, Becky. We're proud of it, yeah.
Of course, this is his graduation picture, and then this picture was before he dyed his hair good and got his teeth fixed. And these were made in some of his movies. And these were made out in California.
Yes. Well, this is a great room. This is your bedroom, is it?
Yeah, no, this is the Elvis room. My room is over here.
This is Mississippi Slim, a big influence on Elvis, who encouraged him as a young boy.
So you got that today?
Yeah,
And they made you an honorary member of...
of the
The Assembly of
Georgia.
Elvis fans. So the church is now standing, I think, next to Old Tupelo Roadhouse, isn't it?
We take the opportunity to pick Becky's brains over our filming schedule, as she will know exactly where to find what we want to find. She clears up the confusion over the First Assembly of God Church.
Right,
What
here we
I
go.
had previously been led to believe was the church is in fact one of the houses that Elvis used to live in.
the First Assembly of God Church, that's not the original church at the present site. But where the church is over there, like the church is here, then there's a street here. You take a right, and it's about the third house on the left. They made a house, and it's on the left at the third house, and it's got a big.
So I think in the end, didn't they get the house and they physically moved it next to Elvis's birth home?
Motor home backed up in there. It usually does, and that's the original. That's the original church.
Wow. So don't forget, that's the original church. Elvis would have gone in there and sung hymns and gospels. Wow.
This is Berry Street, looking peaceful in the evening light, with the chapel directly behind me. The original wooden church and the brick one which replaced it both still exist. They are at the bottom of this street, where it is intersected by Adams, with the newer building on the left.
Now, this is not the church that Elvis went to, but it is on the site. The actual church has been moved and still exists, and we're going to see it. The chapel was 206.
To make things even more confusing, all the buildings in this rectangle of 6 streets have been renumbered.
Now, this is the church bus for the church that's there now. But the church that Elvis worshipped in is still here, and that's here. The church is the building on the right.
Right, I just want to go back a second. I was just reading.
The actual church has been moved.
But I just want to read Caroline's comment. It's so sad. East Trigg Baptist Church burnt down recently, where Elvis used to go. I didn't know that.
It still exists, and we're going to see it. The chapel was 206.
To make things even more confusing, all the buildings in this rectangle of 6 streets have been renumbered.
Now, this is the church bus for the church that's there now. But the church that Elvis worshipped in is still here, and that's here. The church is the building on the right.
Now, is that the one that has been moved next to Old Satilla Road?
909 Berry Street is the actual first Assembly of God church that Elvis and his parents worshipped in.
Ah, right. Okay. Now, I think this is the one. Tell me, guys, do you know? I think this is the one. I'm
It is
learning.
surprising that it still exists, but it does, and this is it. It is now a private home.
This is the church they worshipped in, which has been moved.
Right,
and
being moved.
one house away is where they lived for a little while.
They seem to
So I heard this. They moved to different houses in Tupelo.
have moved in with numerous relatives in several houses throughout this very small area. They lived here in 1944.
Right.
You will again see that the original number of this house, 905, is now being altered to 1280. Kelly Street runs between Berry Street and the main road, parallel to both. In 1942, they lived in another house, which was between the current numbers 910 and 918.
See, I keep reading this. They moved quite a few times, guys.
The house is now gone, but the site is at the rear of a shop which faces onto the main street.
And I found that if you speak to fans that don't, that just obviously read all the usual books and information, everyone thinks, maybe non-fans, yeah? Everyone thinks that Elvis was in the old Tupelo Road house until the day they moved to Mississippi, to Memphis. A lot of people don't realize that they moved a lot. And I think part of the reason they kept moving was obviously they had serious financial problems. Back then, everyone was very poor, but looking for jobs, looking for work.
This is the main street that you can see past the yellow car, and the house was on the right. And this is Kelly Street again. Further down the street, travelling away from the birthplace, you turn right onto Adams Street. Directly on the corner facing you is the house which was the Smith family home, the home of Gladys's parents. When she and Vernon were first married in 1933, they lived here with the rest of her family. This is number 201 Adams.
So I tell you what, I'm learning so much here. 201 Adams in 1933 when they first married.
With the street running parallel to Elvis Presley Drive, completing the lower half of the community rectangle. If you continue down Adams, you come to Reese Street, which leads back up to the birthplace when you turn right. As you go back up to Tupelo's major tourist attraction, on the left is number 911. You will see that once again renumbering is taking place. Heaven knows how the postman manages, let alone a poor Elvis fan trying to find clues from over 60 years ago. This is the house that many people thought was the original chapel, but it's not. They lived here in 1941, the year Elvis started at Law Hon School. This modern chapel is the...
Okay, we're getting a timeline. So Elvis started at Law Hon School in 1941. Okay. How old? So he was 6. Yeah? Does that make sense?
one opposite the house and the birthplace, and the natives are friendly.
What's that? Is that a pig? Tupelo. Oh, I love this. Come on, guys, we're driving down through Tupelo. This is great. Maybe we can tell the year that this is from the cars. Yeah, me too, Debbie. All right, are we here? Are we at the house? I think we might be. I just love the atmosphere of this footage. It's just so vintage. Even though it's probably the 90s, it feels like it's the 70s. Here we go. Yeah, so anyway, let's read it, yeah? Elvis Aaron Presley was born on January the 8th, 1935. In the house built by his father, Presley's career as a singer, entertainment redefined American popular music. He died on August 16, 1977 at Memphis, Tennessee. So I'm guessing that's it from a distance, yeah?
Now the fans have left, perhaps to have a longer look at their new Elvis goodies, it's wonderfully peaceful here. It's also worth staying to enjoy the view at night. Just listen to those cicadas.
Now, is that the actual seat that Gladys and Vernon and Elvis sat on, or is it a rebuilt one that's been replaced? I'd love to know if it's the original one. Elvis's house at night. This is how it would have sounded to Elvis and Gladys and Vernon. Interesting, guys. Interesting.
The next morning, leaving Tupelo on Highway 78, we do a detour to pass the North Mississippi Medical Center at 830 South Gloucester Street. This is the site of the Tupelo Charity Ward, where Gladys convalesced with Elvis for 2 weeks after his birth. 2 hours later...
See, just learned something new. After his birth, for 2 weeks, Elvis was here. Gladys convalesced there for 2 weeks.
Later, if you are not so busy filming that you get totally lost, you will find yourself in the much busier city of Memphis. The Tupelo sign stirs memories, but so does this large building, a very notable landmark in the...
So what is the distance from Tupelo to Memphis? Do any of you guys know?
the early Sundays of Elvis's career. This club, which is situated on an incredibly noisy junction of 2 major roads, is still widely known by its original name. At 4090 Lamar, you can still enjoy the atmosphere of the Eagle's Nest. Situated in East Memphis, on the northwest end of Lamar Avenue, which is incidentally also Highway 78, this junction where it intersects Winchester Avenue is more or less where Memphis proper begins. Also in this vast complex is a swimming pool, which has caused the immediate area to be also known as Clearpool. The Eagle's Nest played host to Elvis on at least 15 occasions in 1954, with the first verifiable appearance being on August the 7th. His last recording appearance there was on December the 10th. Begins. Also,
right, I want to hear this bit. So the first verifiable performance. Let's hear what he said.
In this vast complex is a swimming pool, which has caused the immediate area to be also known as Clearpool. The Eagle's Nest played host to Elvis on at least 15 occasions in 1954.
So 15 occasions in 1954. Because I've been getting a few different accounts now of Elvis's very early songs. Obviously, we know about, is it 1953, My Happiness? I think it was a gift for his mother. Let me just have a look. I've got this on here somewhere because what we're doing now, this is the reason someone was so rude to me on YouTube, because I've got my dates wrong. So it says here on July the 18th, 1953, Presley went to Memphis record service at Sun Records, now commonly known as Sun Studio. He paid $3.98. The record, the first of 2 double-sided demo acetates, and My Happiness, and That's When Your Heart Aches. So this is July 18th, 1953.
With the first verifiable appearance being on August the 7th. His last recorded appearance there was on December the 10th of the same year. He may very well have appeared there earlier and more times than I can track down. Without doubt, this club, like the Louisiana Hayride, was instrumental in providing Elvis with the opportunity to build up his confidence in stagecraft.
See, I've never heard of this place. Never, ever heard of it.
Learning how to handle what could have been a difficult crowd. Opposite a drainage creek, also on an extremely busy main road, is the site of a house Elvis rented before moving to Audubon Drive. He rented this house at 1414 Getwell.
So again, this is all news to me. Elvis rented a house before he moved to Audubon Drive.
From mid-1955 to May 1956, during quite a vital period in his career. I can track
Let's hear
down.
the address again,
Without
guys.
doubt, this club, like the Louisiana Hayride, was instrumental in providing Elvis with the opportunity to build up his confidence in stagecraft, learning how to handle what could have been a difficult crowd. Opposite a drainage creek, also on an extremely busy main road, is the site of a house Elvis rented before moving to Audubon Drive. He rented this house at 1414 Getwell from mid-1955 to May 1956, during quite a vital period in his career. As you can see, it is now an auto parts centre. But these archive pictures, which were taken by yours truly in 1987, show you what the house was like. This original house was bought by somebody who wanted to reassemble it nearer to Graceland and then charge fans entry. Whilst Elvis was here, he appeared on all the Dorsey shows, did the first Milton Berle show from the aircraft carrier in San Diego, met Hal Wallace, had his screen test, and signed a movie contract with Paramount. Also, Colonel Tom Parker became his manager.
Now, I wonder what the story is of that house right now. Is it still there? Has it been moved? Is it like a museum type place to visit? I wonder.
This was the Rainbow Roller Dome at 2881 Lamar, which was used a lot by Elvis both before he went into the army and also after his discharge.
This is where they skated, around this way.
Let me show you this. This used to be the skating rink right in here.
All down this way. This wasn't here. But it went all back through here and around this way. And then this is a checkerboard floor here. I wish it was cleaned up so you could get some good pictures. But we just closed the restaurant and they brought all this stuff in here. It's a beautiful floor right here. See where this was like this? And all back here is a marble floor, and this was the dance area. We're in the process of trying to move. This was a restaurant, and this is part of the floor that's left. And there used to be a swimming pool, and then there was a swimming pool over on the other side. They had indoor.
I'd love to know what's happened to all these areas now, you know, all these years later.
Pool and an outdoor pool.
Oh, I used to building at one time.
Yes, when I was a little girl, I used to swim here.
Did you?
That's 100 years ago. All of this part was the old part of the Rainbow place. And we have another floor here. This was a dance area in here. You could get through.
Our guide saw Elvis in the 70s and the 50s.
And then I saw his last concert.
Think someone can pick in his way?
Where did you see him in the 50s then, in Memphis?
There used to be a place downtown. It was called Ellis Auditorium.
Yes, it's still there. Yeah.
And it's Cook Convention Center now. But, you know, they used to put on all kinds of entertainment down there, and that's where I saw him.
Also on Lamar Avenue at 2256, slightly closer to the town than the old roller skating rink, is the Airways Shopping Centre. It was here that Elvis performed from a flatbed truck at the opening of Cat's drugstore. This performance was at the very start of his career, on September the 9th, 1954, with Scotty and Bill. They were paid $65 in total, and the flatbed truck cost $10.
Fascinating. Guys, that is just amazing information, isn't it? I love this. I hope I can find some more of these kinds of documentaries that show, you know, fans basically trying to find information about Elvis's history and his life with his parents, where he grew up, the schools he went to, the places he performed in the early mid-50s. Fascinating, guys. I know I keep saying fascinating, but it is.
As you will see, Lamar Avenue has several Elvis-related sites. This house at 2414 is another. This was rented by Elvis from late 1954 until mid-1955, when they moved to the house on Getwell, which is now the Auto Parts Centre. They moved here from a house on Alabama Street, which was much nearer the town centre. We'll see that later.
See, the information that we're getting here is great. I love it.
This was the very first proper house that they lived in without having to share with anyone, which socially was a great step forward for the Presleys. It used to be the tiny tot daycare nursery, but now it's an office.
Brilliant. Guys, we've only got a few minutes left. I have to go off after this. I want to come back quite quickly and do a carnivore keto video on this channel, and then I'm gonna later do a defending Elvis video.
I think most fans will recognise this, the first house that Elvis actually owned.
We all know this one, don't we, guys?
This is, of course, 1034 Audubon Drive.
Yeah, and I think this is probably the most famous house next to Graceland's. From what I know, that whilst they were here, there was just so many crowds all outside trying to get a glimpse of Elvis that eventually the decision was made they needed a different house that was more cut off, from the fans. So let's listen, guys.
Still situated in a very nice part of East Memphis. They moved in here on May the 11th, 1956, from the missing house on Getwell Road. The house they moved to after this one is the most well known. They left for Graceland in March 1957. So despite the trouble with their neighbours, they were here for 9 months, longer than most people imagine. Elvis paid $40,000 for this 3-bedroom ranch-style house and sold it for $55,000, so he didn't do too badly on the deal. He had, however, improved the property by installing a swimming pool and a few other luxurious touches. Whilst here, it was a frantically busy time for him. He appeared for the second time with Milton Berle, did the Steve Allen Show, spoke to Hy Gardner, and crowned his 50s TV career by appearing on the Ed Sullivan Show. As we leave the area,
amazing.
You can see this is not a bad spot to have lived in.
Brilliant. I've loved
Back
it.
in the main area of town, we now find ourselves on Poplar Avenue. This building was the old studio used by Kang Ree, who became Elvis's karate teacher.
And this is the back of Kang Ree's studio. And over here is the entrance.
Guys, there must be a part 2. I'm going to try and find the other part to this. That was brilliant. I just found that fantastic. I loved it. Literally loved it. I enjoyed that more than I was expecting. Just brilliant. I'll probably watch that again, because there was so much information there to take in, all the different homes, all the stuff in and around Tupelo. So I'm going to go now, guys. I'll be back. I'm not sure exactly when, but I want to come back quite quick, do a carnivore keto video here at Elvis Presley Fan on Keto. Then a bit later, we're going to do a couple of defending Elvis things as well. So take care, guys. Got to go. I've got to rush off. But I hope you enjoyed it. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. Thanks, guys. What I'm going to try and do is maybe quickly walk the dogs and then come back, do the other video. So I've got a plan. You know, guys, I've got a plan. Take care. Love you all, guys. Bye-bye.